Hello everybody, welcome to number 27. This XK is one of my favourite all-time cars that I've owned. So why am I selling it so quickly? That's something that we're going to discuss in this video, as well as what I've learned from the ownership, so which model would make the best buy, and lastly, have I managed to come out of this without losing any money? It's not often that I'm totally happy with the car that I've bought, but that's been the case with this Jag. Of course, it had a couple of smallish issues. The wheels were a little bit buckled, so I had to get them straightened. There was a particularly tiresome leak that got into the back of the car. But overall, in terms of value, performance, comfort, affordability, I think there is nothing that beats these cars. It also beat my expectations when it comes to overall condition. It was cheap, £6,800, and it's a higher mileage car with 124,000. But a check at Jaguar showed that it is actually a very sound, very good car. Owning this has also been a lot less stressful than the previous car that I had, the Bentley GT. With that, I was constantly worried that there might be a bill for several £1,000s coming up. These tend not to be quite as ruinous, so I've been able to enjoy driving it. If I love it so much, why have I already sold it? Well, Ben from Dadcars YouTube channel, he did a review of this a few months ago, and he liked it so much that he recommended it for his car raffle sponsors. It was an opportunity that I just couldn't refuse. I absolutely hate selling cars, and this was just an easy way of moving on to the next project. Ideally, I would have kept it another couple of months. The thing is with these, or even longer, the thing is with my fleet cars is that they have to earn me money. I can't afford to run 4 or 5 cars if I don't get views on YouTube. And once I've had something for, say, 2 to 3 months, the views start to drop off. So unfortunately, I have to move on. You can buy these for, I think a sensible starting price is about 7,000. They are available for less, but they will be very, very leggy cars or cars with problems. 7,000 is a starting price, and even with this, initially I did have some issues. We'll meet up with Ben and hand over the keys in a minute, but before that, would I buy this same XK if I was to do it all over again, or would I get a different spec? So there's really two main choices that you have to make when you are looking for an XK. Are you going to go for an early car or a facelift, and are you going to go for a standard car or an R? The difference between the facelift and the normal car, externally I think is quite minor. There's a different sort of front bumper, it's a little bit more aggressive, different rear lights, but really not that much in it. And I personally prefer the way the early cars look. The interior though is much changed in the facelifts and does look much nicer. It is lifted. The center console, instead of having the old-fashioned joystick, has the fancy little pop-up rotary controller. It just looks a bit more modern. Some of the other buttons have been changed as well. Worth noting that in both cars, whether facelift or not, the extended leather does really help to lift the interior. This car doesn't have it, and it has the sort of the imitation leather there. It's still quite nice. But leather all round is a nice thing to have. The later cars also have the 5-litre V8, which was advertised as a brand new engine, but I've heard it's really a strong evolution of the original Jag lump. They do have an extra 80 horsepower, which is quite significant. It does change the driving experience, but I haven't found this 4.2 V8 to be lacking, even though it only has 300 horsepower. Ultimately, between the two, 5-litre cars and the 4.2s like this, it's about 30, almost 40% increase. For ultimate value, an early car like this one, non-facelift, is the way to go, and I promise you that you're still going to get about 90% of the experience. When you're looking through and you see those lovely center consoles, at the end of the day, I don't think it makes that much of a big difference, not in terms of the pricing anyway, to justify that. Between XK and XKR is a more difficult question. On the 4.2 litres, you might only have to pay another couple of thousand on top to get an equivalent car to this. That does have quite a lot more power, Again, pre-facelift, it's 300 horsepower for this, 420 I think for the R. The handling is sharper, but you've got to ask yourself, do you really want one? Do you need one? What are you going to use it for? If it's just a weekend car for sort of ambling around, then I think the standard car will be more than sufficient. And they can be driven pretty briskly, they don't just fall apart. But if you want to have something which is going to be your only sort of sporty, fun car, and you have to have something which is a bit more dynamic, then the XKR is worth it. You don't trade off a lot in terms of comfort, but don't expect that you're going to get a fully fledged sports car. It doesn't live up to something like a 997 dynamically. So overall, have I made money on this or lost it? Well, I paid £6,800 for it. I've put about £400 into the car, and for once, I am actually getting all that back. But I think I've been lucky with this because it was better than expected. Yes, it has a few issues, but overall, it is a good car. If you are considering getting an XK, whether it's an R or one of the normal cars, I would really recommend it. I think they are absolutely brilliant. Nothing approaches them for value. The question is though, what should I replace this with? I have had a hankering for an XJR, and one of the cars that I featured on my channel is potentially available, so I'm considering that. But if you have any suggestions, please put that in the comments. We will also go and ask Ben what he thinks. Here we go. Here's the keys and a couple of things. First of all, what are you going to be doing with it? Secondly, I want to just run by you a couple of ideas I've had for a replacement for this.
Yeah, no, excellent. Well, look, my plan is, over on my channel, I've got a sponsor that allows me to buy sub 10 grand cars, exciting cars, and then they run a raffle on them basically. So I'm going to have this sat on my drive for the next month, daily in it, using it with my children, and then someone's going to win it. But obviously, if anyone's interested in that, they can head over to my channel. But yeah, since I drove it, we recently filmed, and I drove this car. I've been thinking about it a lot because I really did enjoy it. It's so much easier to drive than my Grand Sport, which I daily at the moment. So yeah, no, I love it. What are you thinking of getting next then?
Well, that's the thing really. So I I do really like the XJRs. It wasn't on my radar after having done this, but I did a review on one previously on the channel, and the chap who did that got in touch with me and said, look, it might be up for sale. And so I'm thinking, I don't know, would that be a good option? So the only thing is, I didn't particularly want to go Jag with Jag straight away. But I do love those, and it would be interesting, and having a car from someone you know, as you said, was one of the reasons of getting this maybe is that you know where it's coming from, you know its history, is quite an appealing thing.
That's definitely another big reason why I picked this. Yeah, because when you are buying sub 10 grand V8 performance cars, it's nice to know. I mean, you've obviously done such an incredible series on this.
But, you know, it might be nice to go for an E30 BMW, quite a lot of money now, or an E34 5 Series as well.
I reckon you should remain open to see what is the most exciting car that comes up at the right price. But I think you maybe do go to another Jag, because you haven't had this that long. It was very successful. A lot of people really enjoyed watching this car. So yeah, I could going for another Jag. That'd be quite cool, and I'd like to come up and give it a try myself. Do a video as well, if that's all right. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah, of course.
Bring up my Grand Sport or something.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Well, look, everybody. Please do go and have a look at Ben's channel. The videos on this, the link will be in the description and so on. And of course, if you're that way inclined, you could buy a ticket for the raffle, maybe end up with what I think is a great car. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Ben, for having made this so easy and painless. And really look forward to seeing you for the next one. And do put in your comments what you think I should replace this with. And it's going to be around the same budget or lower. So around the £7,000 mark. Thank you, bye-bye.